Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Friday Evening Trains. It is Friday. It is evening, and we got trains. Before we get started here, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who has downloaded, played, and rated Eastbound for the Alton. It's spent most of the week bubbling near the top of the Steam Workshop homepage, and last I checked, it was at number two, um, which is just crazy to me for an almost 2 hour long scenario. But so thank you so much, everyone. It's kind of crazy to me that I've been doing this for um, I think like 8.5 years now, and I can still see that kind of success, and it's all thanks to you guys. I don't do anything other than make the scenarios and publish them. So um, big thanks to you guys. Uh, now that we're done with the mushy stuff, on to the trains. So we are starting with Up from Devon Part 2. If you recall, we ran Part 1 last week. And after a short break at Exeter, you are back in the cab. The clouds have turned to rain as you prepare to resume your journey to Bristol. Let's see. Excuse me. It's thinking. So while we're loading in here, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder that I may possibly not be streaming next week. I'm getting my second COVID vaccine dose next Thursday, and I've heard various reports, but most people I've talked to, especially with people amongst people I work with, have been getting pretty hard hit by it. So I may be spending next Friday recovering from that, and so I may possibly not be streaming. So I will update, obviously, the Facebook um, sometime around midday. Um, with that information. So, oh yeah, got that good crunch. Let's open the doors here at Exeter. Departure time is 7:42 and a half. Turn off the cab light, that'll help. Sprint lights, AWS. So this scenario is for the very, very old Just Trains Bristol to Exeter route, not the Southwestern Speedways route. That was not available on Steam at the time I made this scenario, and accordingly, it looks about as bad as you might expect for how old this route is at this point. So, um, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about that. It looks like um, it doesn't look the best, and this sky is definitely convincing for rain. Let me tell you. But it is what it is. We will take it as she comes. And I just realized I'm once again running two rainy scenarios in a row. So, definitely not intentional. I apologize if there was any kind of echo there. I forgot I had my Twitch page open because I just finished uploading the video from last week's stream because I kind of forgot that's what I needed to do. Which is also the reason I didn't post anything about the stream yesterday on Facebook. I kind of totally forgot that that's a thing that is supposed to happen. So, So yeah, so I guess our second scenario is going to be a bit of a surprise for when we get there. But well, not if you're watching this on YouTube. You can just literally scroll down and see what it is. But for those of you trapped watching this live, it'll be a surprise. About a minute to go before we are ready to depart. Whoops. So I think one of the reasons I chose this service is because it's one of the few that actually stop. One of the few cross country services that stops at Weston Supermare, and I just thought that was pretty cool. There's literally no other reason. Um, so and speaking of, I recently saw on the SimSig homepage that there is a group of people working on bringing back the Bristol layout. They've been working on that I think since late 2018. They said, and I think it will be available later this year. So that's exciting. I've always enjoyed the obsolete Bristol layout, and I've been really bummed that there's not a more current one to mess about with. So I think the most recent timetable available is for 2015, from 2015, which, you know, isn't super current. There's obviously nothing to do with the IEPs. Excuse me, or any of that good stuff. So yeah, that'll be good. I'm excited for that to come. Next up is Tiverton Parkway at 7:54:30 and a half. But yeah, I'm excited for that to come back. And I only bring that up because those of you familiar with the Bristol layout will know that we will be under the control of the Bristol power signal box after we pass through, or after we pass Coglow Junction, right before we pass Bridgewater Station. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. Immediately on our right here, as we depart the yard, is Exeter New Yard, or the station, excuse me, is Exeter New Yard, with a class FGW class 158 standing in for a SWR class 159. I hadn't bought the 159 pack yet, so. And then immediately on the left is Exeter Riverside Yard, with a nice collection of aggregate wagons, ballast wagons actually. The Just Train Sea Cow wagons, ones I've always enjoyed. Although I don't think I've used them other than as filler for this route. I think Voyage to Exeter also featured them, and did not feature any AI trains with them, so kind of funny. To me, at least. I don't know. Doing 65 here. Or 65 is the speed limit here. We are approaching that, and we are not too far from being able to go up to 100. Being as old as this route is, there is absolutely no super elevation on it, so you are going to see some ridiculous jerking here around some of these curves, especially as we get up to the 110 mile an hour range. We are now passing what I believe is called Cowherd Junction? Or no? I don't remember now. But either way, it's a junction where branching off to the left are the line is the branch line to Crediton, where the line to Oakhampton and the line to Barnstable branch off or split, I guess. We are now cleared up to 80. Oh, Cowley Bridge Junction. That's what it's called. It's Cowley Bridge Junction. I remember now. Not that it really matters, but I like remembering. Cleared up to 100 now, so I'm just going to whack it in full power. I believe this scenario was made at the time when they were testing the Class 802s out in the West Country. Since obviously there isn't a Great Western Railway, or, well, any kind of branded 800 or like unit officially for Train Simulator. That's kind of hard to do. And I think I probably used like back-to-back Class 43s or something to represent those. We'll probably find out in the not-too-distant future. Actually, I wonder if something in TS 2021 broke the skybox on this route. It wouldn't surprise me. Sometimes DTG's updates can get rather Bethesda-like in the sense that they can, break things at the same time they are fixing other things. So. But I will say, DTG hasn't found a way to incorporate microtransactions into Train Simulator. But that may also be because DLC for this game is so prolific. So, I don't know. There's a debate to be had there, but I'm not very well equipped at the moment to have it, so I will choose not to. A little under 11 3/4 miles to go to Tiverton Parkway. Going to increase the power here. And actually, what I now realize is that there are some trains I probably should have been using um, short formed HSTs for. Um, Although maybe not, because the 802s weren't in service yet. Certainly now, if I were to do one, um, a number of services would probably be formed of what GWR has dubbed the Castle Set HSTs, which are HSTs made of four coaches and used on local services. I think GWR classes them as Class 255s, since the 802s now handle all the intercity services. So, yeah, I think this stop is actually a little squeaky to make, timetable wise, but it is a 2-minute stop, so. Um, there's not really any update as well to give on the workshop front. I haven't started working on anything since Eastbound for the Alton came out. Um, I do still plan on making an Arizona Divide scenario next, and I recently drew inspiration for a Plymouth Penzance scenario, which will be coming out after that. But I'll probably start working on the Arizona Divide scenario this weekend. I've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley lately. I recently, well, not super recently, beginning of the year, got the game for PC, and I've been playing for quite a while. And I was taking a break, but my coworker was asking me a question about it this week, and it made me realize I wanted to get back into it. So yeah, fantastic game. Highly recommend. I may end up playing a little bit on the stream at some point. I'm trying to decide how that would work, because I definitely wouldn't. It would be difficult to start a farm and only play, probably once a month. It'd be tough to make any kind of progress. And not only that, it'd just be tough to keep track of what I was doing. But I would like to do a little bit of Stardew Valley, even if that means maybe streaming some other night during the week. Just to keep Friday for trains. About 4 1/3 miles to go to Tiverton Parkway now. Going up a bit of a grade here. We're now passing the Tiverton Junction loops. And we have a little over 2 miles to go to Tiverton Parkway, so I'm going to start braking for that. It does kind of sneak up on you. The station isn't too far beyond the end of the loops here, so... Okay, probably didn't need to start braking quite so early. Okay, now I probably waited way too long to start braking. Luckily, this simulation of the 220 has excellent brakes. But it's probably way harder than you'd want to be braking in real life. I mean, even in pretend, that would be pretty brutal. So we're just gonna ease into the station here, and there's no stop markers on this route, so we'll just pull it to a stop right up here. That'll do. I don't know why it's doing that. AI pathing in this game is very stupid. Is that flashing? I don't know, it just looks like it. I don't even know why that's set up as bidirectional. But obviously it is the whole way down to Exeter. Otherwise it would have yelled at me. Or behaved like it was supposed to, one of the two. Next up is Taunton at 8:07. So one of the funny things I discovered about this route, not necessarily during this scenario, but during the creation process for Voyage to Exeter, is that the distance between Bristol and Taunton is roughly the same as the distance between Taunton and Exeter. Which in itself is not an astounding statement, I know, but my main point being that since most cross country trains don't stop between Bristol and, I don't actually know why I find this so funny, but I do. It's not even really that interesting that there's long gaps between stops, and then there isn't, like, it's stupid. I realize it's stupid now that I've tried now to articulate it. Yeah, no, I got nothing. That really wasn't it's really not that profound or interesting, so we should be coming up here based on the HUD. Should be getting close to the White Ball Tunnel. not getting the best frame rate. Yep, there it is. So we are now entering, or we will be entering here in just a second, the White Ball Tunnel, which indicates that we will be descending the up direction of the White Ball Bank. Or it might actually just be the White Ball Bank. I don't know that there's, because the down the Exeter side definitely isn't as steep as the Bristol side. Now that we've passed through that very wonderfully modeled tunnel, we are going to be on a downward gradient pretty much all the way down to Taunton, and I'm not sure how well it shows up. But we are on a 1 in 80 downward gradient, which is definitely not going to hurt in keeping up our speed. We have about 9 3/4 miles to go to Taunton. And really sticks out to you how horrifically some of the things on this route are modeled. I do intend on picking up the Southwestern Speedways at some point. I don't think it's on sale currently. Or Southwestern Expressways, excuse me. I'm looking it up on Steam. Never mind the train. We're fine. Yeah, no, it's not currently on sale, but I do intend on picking it up. Although it does irritate me that the Steam version terminates at Pusey instead of going at least all the way to Bedwin or Newbury. Since not every intercity service calls at Pusey. Not that they all necessarily call that Bedwin or Newbury either. In fact, most of the services don't stop anywhere between Thiel and Taunton. And I say Thiel specifically because that's where the Westbury SimSig simulation ends. And I don't know anything else, so outside of that. But I would assume it's something like Reading and Taunton, which is impressive because that is, I think, close to like an hour and a half of journey time with no station stops, which isn't that impressive in the U.S., but is pretty startling, at least in my opinion, for a UK journey. That's getting... I can't think offhand of any other services that routinely go that far. I know, obviously, the Flying Scotsman service doesn't call anywhere between Newcastle and King's Cross, but that's a once-a-day thing. There are multiple trains a day um, that don't stop anywhere between Reading and Taunton. My best guess otherwise might be Newcastle to Edinburgh. I don't know how many services there are that don't call it, like Berwick upon Tweed or Dunbar, but that's pretty close to an hour and a half. Um, Possibly um, trains that don't stop between. I know there are a number of services that bypass Peterborough. Oh, that's a good shout, Code Monkey. I don't know. I didn't actually know Avanti was running nonstop Carlisle to Glasgow services. I figured most of those at least called at Motherwell, so that's definitely a good shout. A little under 4.5 miles to go to Taunton now. Right, and I don't know the ins and out either. I just was playing a timetable on the Westbury layout for Sim 6, so it was top of mind. As well as the fact that I was running this scenario on this very old route. So coming in from the left here is the connection to the West Somerset Railway. I don't think it's actively used anymore, except for maybe occasional ballast services or preserved equipment transfers, but it's there, it's a thing. And we are passing on the right here, we are passing through Norton Fitzwarren, um, where the slow line from Fairwater Yard connects back to the main. And on the right is also Fairwater Yard. With a nice assortment of sea cows. Running a bit ahead of schedule here, so I don't mind being a little bit slow on the roll into Taunton here. But probably should start braking. So we've now arrived at Taunton Station. I hit numpad 8. Oh, maybe that's why it's... Hey, look at that. My number pad was turned off. Which is why the numpad keys weren't working for controlling the camera views. And apparently these doors just didn't want to open. They decided they weren't going to open here. Even though it's fully contained within the platform. I don't know, Train Simulator'd be like that sometimes. Most times. Apparently you don't have to mind the gap on Platform 6, you can just do whatever. I guess it doesn't say mind the gap, but that's what it would say. No yellow line, no. Not even any edging, you just... platform and then tracks. Oh, and then a random 8, 9, 10... stop marker? But that doesn't make any sense. I feel like it would be farther up for a 10-car train. Excuse me, you're pushing it. Maybe not. These platforms are pretty long. Yeah, apparently they don't care about people who use Platform 6. They're on their own. Just another example of how poorly this route has kind of aged. Passing trains cause air turbulence. Well, that's nice that they put one sign at, like, one end of the platform. At one end of one platform. I guess they put one at this end, too. But it's still only on platforms 3 and 4. Apparently nobody cares about you if you're on platform 4 or 5. Probably because non-stop trains don't pass through those platforms, but still. Inbound 150. Next stop is Weston Supermare at 8:36. You'd think I'd proofread these better. But, oh well. So now we have the longest stretch so far on the run here, almost 27 miles. To Weston Supermare. Apparently so. Like, I mean... Well, to be fair, you know, they probably had to pay for all those signs on top of, you know, the money they spent acquiring the franchise. Or rather, keeping the franchise, because First Group have had the Western franchise, I think, since, at least for the intercity trains, since privatization. Or not long after, so... I was doing some Googling, trying to figure out which BR sector would have handled the local services out in Cornwall, because I didn't think it would be Network Southeast or Regional Railways, but I wasn't able to find any information. But Um, I know the local services went through, I think, Wales and Borders and then Wessex before they got to First Great Western. But I'm pretty sure First Great Western handled the intercity services pretty much from the start of privatization in 96, 97, 98. And while we were talking about Southwestern Expressways, we are now passing through Cogload Junction, where splitting off to the right will be the line to Castle Cary and ultimately Westbury, and then through to either Bristol or Reading. Probably one of my favorite junctions, which feels kind of dumb to say, but I always thought the layout was super interesting, and it has the high-speed turnouts. I think they're rated for like 90 miles an hour. And just the unusual layout with the up and down Bristol mains splitting off with the down main crossing over the Castle Cary lines. It's pretty neat, pretty neato. So we are now on the outer fringes of the Exeter, signal box. I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly where the dividing line is. It's one or two signals past, or excuse me, two or three signals past Cogload Junction. We might already be in it. Definitely once we pass the station at Bridgewater, will be. under the supervision of the Bristol signal box. Already pass. Oh no, we're coming up on it. We're now passing through Bridgewater Station. And it shouldn't be too long before we get into a stretch of under 10-mile-an-hour track. Passing through quite a rural stretch of Somerset between uh, Taunton and Weston Supermare. There are really only two stations, Bridgewater, which we just passed, and Highbridge in Burnham, which we will be passing shortly. So, actually, we can probably afford some outside of the cab goodness, so we can marvel at how light the sky is on this rainy, rainy day. Wrong button. Pretty pathetic. If I'm being completely honest. I mean, like, I'm sure this route was definitely impressive when it came out. I mean, it's a decently sized route. It's close to 85 miles, and that's pretty good, all things considered. I don't have an actual point to make with that, but that's all right. That 110 section I mentioned earlier is coming up in a little over a mile. I mean, that is definitely true, Code Monkey. I'm definitely not trying to knock the efforts of Just Trains or even the original Railwork Railworks devs back in the day. Driver of 1M29, be advised you may face some delay at Uphill Junction while 2C65 departs Weston Supermare. But obviously, even creating any kind of route is certainly nothing to be scoffed at. Um, it's hard work now. It was hard work then. In fact, it was even harder because they didn't have the benefit of Google Maps overlay. They had to rely on Google Maps images, and a lot of those images, and obviously, any kind of information they could find on the internet, be it trackside photos or cab ride videos. But Google satellite imagery in the early 2010s was, well, it left a lot to be desired. So definitely not trying. Obviously, technology improves and things don't necessarily age very well, but definitely not trying to put anyone down about the work that went into this route. But it is nice that we now have a route like Southwestern Expressways, which improves on this route and gives it better textures overall. Super elevation, which is something a lot of early TS routes desperately needed. So, I mean, TS in general desperately needed, but sometimes it is a little painful to look at some of these older routes. We're now passing the Highbridge in Burnham Loop, and breaking the speed limit in one fell swoop. And we're now passing through High Bridge and Burnham Station. Another problem with these older routes is their reliance on the classic assets packs, which are enormous. They take up like a gig themselves. And so everything has to be loaded anytime you run a scenario using them. So that might be weighing things down. We are probably getting close to Uphill Junction now. We're about 6 miles away from Western Supermare, and that does include the branch. I forget how long we're going to be held. It'll be a solid few minutes. Hop back in the cab since we're getting close. In fact, there we go. There's the yellow signal. So we're about a mile and a three quarters away from the signal we're going to have to stop at. Definitely can see we have a yellow coming up. So we are going to hit the brakes. And I'm going to try and slow us down reasonably fast. Although, I guess, really, now that I think about it, Code Monkey, the problem lies mostly with pre-2012 routes, because TS 2012 routes, or excuse me, TS 2013. No, TS 2012. Sorry. Um, because routes like London to Brighton have aged reasonably well. Um, and I think London to Faversham and routes like that, um, routes that featured, just the improved textures and super elevation, but right. So, but obviously, like I said, for the time, these routes are I'm sure impressive. I remember being bright-eyed and filled with wonder when I first played this game. So, um, and that was getting on 10 years ago now. So, um, most of what I experienced was um, the pre. I experienced uh, like my first routes were like Horseshoe Curve and um, uh, Great Western Main Line and Cajon Pass, and so obviously as someone new to the whole idea of Train Simulator, it was pretty impressive. But you know, looking looking back now with the benefit of 9 years of experience, yeah, those routes were pretty terrible. But I mean, so are a lot of the you could look back at a lot of the original Microsoft Train Simulator routes that came boxed with the game and say, yeah, those are pretty terrible too. Um, but obviously a lot of routes that come out for that game or open rails now are really impressive. So um, kind of feel like I've beaten this point to death at this point. So we are now stopped at Uphill Junction, where we'll be parked for a little while as we wait for clearance onto the Weston Supermare branch. Obviously, if we were most other cross country services, we'd just be continuing straight on. But as I said at the beginning of the scenario, this is one of the few trains that calls at Western Supermare for cross country, so we are just stuck waiting. watching a video my dad sent me from his Ring. Doorbell. Hashtag not sponsored. Oh, no, there we go. So we got one train passing by here. Yep, the other service has departed from the station. So it should only be now a couple of more minutes. So it is I guess it really depends on the route is the best answer I can give. Um there are I'm trying to decide how to answer this question. But the amount of portals isn't necessarily something that makes it no, it's fine. An example I like to use of this for this is the Portsmouth Direct Line. Certainly the legacy one had this problem, and I think the updated one does, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But Portsmouth Station doesn't have end of platform portals, which definitely makes it hard to create a scenario in the Portsmouth area. Just because there's not a lot of places to put AI trains. And I guess this would be a problem in real life too, now that I think about it. Because obviously you can't just shove trains off to the netherworld in real life. But from a scenario creation standpoint, that definitely makes it a little bit difficult. Just trying to cram trains between Portsmouth Harbor and I can't remember what the name of the junction is off the top of my head, but the junction with the line to Southampton. So in that regard, yes, but a lot of the times, like there's usually an adequate amount of portals, depending on the route dev. Some devs are better about putting mid-route portals in than others. Like I think this route doesn't have any. I think it's just portals at the very. Oh no, well there's a portal there, and there's one there, but I don't know. Yeah, like there's not really any between like here and Taunton, or here and. Oh, there is one at Tiverton. Uh, definitely. It just keeps things from getting super cluttered. And it means I have to get a lot less creative with where I stick trains. As lazy as that sounds. But that's just one example. That's not really a huge problem. There's not a ton of routes with um, terminal platforms in the game. Obviously, anything that ends in London is going to have a version of that problem. But so we should. There we go. Just got the signal, so we can come in. The only thing that helps with terminals is the less time you can keep an AI train in a scenario, the less problems it's likely to cause you. So that's another thing that I like mid-route portals for is just you can be reasonably confident that you can clear out an AI train before it will cause you problems because the editor loves to route trains in the stupidest way it can find. Which is why you have to be careful when routing any kind of AI train anywhere close to any kind of yard because Train Simulator will not think twice about routing your AI train into a siding that has static rolling stock and causing a game-ending derailment. It happens plenty of times, and it is infuriating. There's an unmarked 40 speed limit somewhere around here, so I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that. But we are doing decent for time. But so mid-route portals are nice for that, just in the sense that the faster you can get an AI train out of your scenario, the fewer problems it's going to cause you. You're less likely to have it collide. You're less likely to have it freak out and break. Oh no, I was mistaken. The 60 isn't marked. But I mean, part of my problem is too that I don't like routing AI trains into portals that they wouldn't use in real life. So, like using the Portsmouth Direct Line example, I have a really hard time directing a Portsmouth-bound train into the portal on the line to Southampton, which is so supremely dumb. Obviously, it doesn't matter, but um, so yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it makes it easier at having them, and having it not having them makes it harder. It's more convenient when there are more portals. It gives you a lot more flexibility, and it tends to help keep the amount of problems at a minimum. Because Train Simulator loves creating problems. So we are coming into platform 2 here at WSM. Ah, I gotcha. Um, yeah, definitely. without getting ridiculous, the more portals you can place, the more helpful it gets. Um, Also, just keep in mind, or keep an eye on your track directionality. That that helps a lot. Um, if you lock it as being one direction or another, that can get kind of irritating, depending on what you want to do. There is an example of this that I know I have that I can't think of. Um, Shoot, I've lost it now, but something just to um, keep an eye out for. Um, Obviously, any kind of electrification, you need to make sure that that's all up to snuff. The more destination markers you can put too also helps. A lot of early North American train simulator routes have a problem where, in fact, I think Granger Heartland also has this problem, which is annoying. But anything that is uh, bidirectional centralized traffic control, a lot of early train simulator routes have this issue where um, there's only destination markers at a set of crossovers on one one side of the control point, which is really irritating when you're trying to cross trains over. And I don't have a good way to describe that uh, on me, and it's not a great. And obviously, British Railways don't do it a lot, so it's hard to. Actually, I think isn't there one outside of Tiverton that I might be able to use? Oops, that's too far. Um, and that's not a great example. Perfect. So like, right, exactly. So like, if we're here at Tiverton, ignoring the loop here, if this was an early TS North American scenario, there'd be a set of markers on like maybe the north end here, and then not the south end, um, and that's just annoying because obviously one of the benefits of uh, routes with centralized traffic control is that you can do fun things with routing and switching tracks, and that's just really annoying if you don't have the, especially when um, TS won't assume you're doing what you want to do, or won't assume what you want it to do. That's a terrible way of phrasing that, but yeah, basically what you said, you can't select pass without going out of your way to add markers. Um, so, in fact, Sherman Hill has that problem. That's a problem they only recently fixed, sort of. Like I said, Granger Heartland does it, which is really irritating. A lot of third-party devs don't have that problem, though. I know G-Trex and Virtual New Haven have both been really good about that. Next and final stop for us is Bristol Temple Meads at 8:54. Yeah, proofreading is something I struggle with, clearly, but trying to think what else irritates me. I mean, there's only so much you can do as a route creator because some of it is just down to how the how moronically the uh, dispatcher wants to try and route things. And there's only so much you can do to mitigate it from a route developer standpoint. Um, can't think of anything else at the off the top of my head um, that I would give to a route builder um, as like a wish list of my perfect route in terms of just scenario creation ability. Oh, I guess if you're doing anything with platforms, make sure your passengers are constrained to the platform. They don't try and wander out over the tracks. Um, I know most recently the Fife Circle line has a problem with that. That's not even a scenario creation thing. That's just a good route building thing. Um, we're passing by Weston Milton Station here. And it's absolutely shocking that something like that would make it through the QA process, to be honest. Um, and not just to pick on DTG, I'm pretty sure Thompson's Edinburgh to Glasgow has that problem on a number of stations. Something like that. I don't know how it works off the top of my head, but um, it's something that's irritating, and I would assume isn't super hard to fix, but I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. Oh, everyone has more than one story about passengers walking into infinity. Um, that they do. If you watch PTG Rail's Fife Circle Line video that came out within the last week, um, which is why which is why it's the example I used. It was top of mind. There's a lot of that going on. We are now passing through Worrell Junction and are getting back on the main line. And coming up here in a second, we will be passing through Worrell Station. And we have about a little over 16 and a half miles to go to Bristol, where the scenario will end. And we will pop across the pond. So this is Oral Station here, and we're going to start passing through a number of stations as we get kind of closer to Bristol. I guess we're kind of out in the suburbs of Bristol here. Sort of, kind of. We are now passing the Yatton Loops. And now we're passing Yatton Station and getting some pacer action. Everybody loves pacers. I assume. I mean, having never been subjected to one, I don't really have an actual opinion on them, but I mean, they're cute. It's a bus. Mouse hole. Sally Lunn's bath. Oh, wait. Oh, that's Sally Lunn's in bath. Ooh, Welsh. Full disclosure, the Welsh language terrifies me. No language should use that many consonants, but I digress. Not that I'm trying to make fun of Wales. Wales is a very pretty country, but my God, that language. Said the native English speaker. I know, I know. We are now passing through, I think, Nailsea and Blackwell Station. Yep. I have to remind myself. We got 8 miles to go to Bristol. Now passing through. I think this one is Nailsea Tunnel. I don't think this is the Burton Tunnel, but it might be. I'm not confident now. Pretty sure that was the Burton Tunnel. I don't remember if there's 2 tunnels on this portion of the route or not. How interesting a waypoint. Probably because TS was trying to do something stupid. What do you know? Uh, I love that too. There's a number of routes where it tries that one, Code Monkeys. So yeah, that's a favorite of mine too. Yep. Coming in from the left here is the branch from Portbury, and right ahead here is Parsons Street Station, complete with a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit warning, which isn't for more than a mile. So, but I will idle the power. We were doing okay for timetable. That was scary. Always good when the game freezes. Most intriguing. We are not lined into the station. Although it might be approach control, I don't know. On our right there, alongside the down main, is the shunt neck here at Bedminster. And we are passing through Bedminster Station. And we are going to be flying into that 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Oh, I forget what the. Oh, that's right. We just passed the Pile Hill depot. I think we just got our clearance into the platform at Bristol. Maybe. Tab's not doing anything, so. Oh, yeah. We're good. It didn't look like it was for our track, but it is. Curving off to the right up ahead is the track that leads into St. Philip Marsh Depot, which is the main First Great West or main GWR depot in Bristol. Cross country is maintained out of Barden Hill Depot, which is on the other side of the station. Very tight curve coming into the station here. So pulling into platform 5, which is really platform 5 and 6, but they're not labeled that way. here in Train Simulator. Yep, the train shed does not have rain occlusion, which is something else that early TS did not have, and it is wildly unfortunate. And I'm pretty sure that platform marker is just hanging in the middle of nowhere, as I believe is that one. So basically gonna have to squeeze right up to the signal here. That'll take us to the end of scenario 1. So once we get our completion here, I will do the usual, pop it onto the intermission screen, and I will return in a moment with the next scenario. Is it hanging in? Oh, I guess it is attached to that. Alright, it's not hanging in midair. Ooh, what does the station board say? 1512. 848. Calling it. It goes straight from Penzance and calls it. Okay, going to Penzance, calling at Taunton, Exeter, St. David's. Taunton. Exeter, St. David's. And then nothing. Goes straight from Exeter, St. David's to Penzance, I'm sure. Or maybe not. I could be reading this wrong. Hey, Jessica, welcome to the stream. We are just about wrapping up our first scenario here, and then we will be off to America. So here's Barden Hill Depot. Yeah, that is that's pretty impressive. It's made it to an age 10 times of what it was originally projected to make it to. which is pretty impressive. Considering all that it's been through over the years. Where are you off to, friend? I legit don't remember. Oh, you're off to Penzance. Yeah, you probably shouldn't be a 150. Huh, that's interesting. I didn't know Amtrak started on a Saturday. Legacy TS signals. I joke, but I also don't. I want it both ways. What is that? Bristol East? Oh no, Kingsland. Bristol East is actually somewhere over here. It's the other connection to St. Philip's Marsh. Excuse me. It is not wrong, Jessica. They need to be introduced to the glorious ways of the P-42 over in England. That's also a fair point. Although the P-42 was designed to meet pretty much any mainline clearance in the U.S. So that is also a fair point. I feel like you might get some unintended sunroofing with the superliners after going under a couple bridges. I don't know why the scenario can't just end, but Train Simulator decided it can't, so. I do like this first Great Western livery. It was a good livery. Actually, I remember there you go, Jessica. No, I remember. I remember reading in. It was a story in one issue of Trains or Another that was revisiting um, the experience of the Flying Scotsman, um, the LNER A3 coming over to America on tour in the 1970s, and how fire crews needed training on the coaches because the loading gauge in England is also a lot narrower than it is in America. North American railroads have an enormous loading gauge. It's like 3 feet on either side of the tracks. Is what you're, I think, supposed to assume. So the coaches are a lot narrower than American coaches. Uh, or the coaches that came over with the Flying Scotsman are a lot more narrow than American coaches. Which was a shock to a lot of people visiting the train set when it came over. So, and it was kind of funny. I think the author pointed out uh, um, the irony in um, two countries that shared the same track gauge not sharing the same loading gauge. 100%. Although we do have the 1A4, which is, I believe, at the Mid America in Wisconsin. Um, the Dwight D. Eisenhower. But I mean, 100%. I would love to see Flying Scotsman come back to the U.S. Because if you couldn't tell, I was not alive in the 1970s. So. Tornado would be good too. There are several that would be good. I would also take what is it? Um, when they finally finish restoring Blue Peter, that would be a good one to bring over too. And it would only be fair if we sent some over there for like the three small sections of track an American steam locomotive could actually fit on in the UK. Oh, there you go. There's an idea. Obviously, I don't think you can make Big Boy work. Um, that would be that'd be difficult. But I feel like you could get away with maybe 844 or um, Soo Line 1003. Yeah, nickel plate 765. That would work too. Or Paramarquette 1225. That one would work too. Something on the smaller side. Yes. Good run, driver. That's it for us. She's the next cruise now. Let's grab a cuppa. Scenario complete. Okay. So I will be right back. I'm going to queue up the next scenario, and I'll be right back. All right. So popping across the pond now. So we are starting another multi-parter. This time it is zipping eastbound, and we are starting on the Pacific Surfliner route for this one. So the highest priority trains that run on BNSF are the Z trains, high priority intermodal trains that operate primarily between Los Angeles and Chicago. That's not at all true. There are many more Z trains that operate just between those two, but you are in charge of one such train, ZLACCHI, running between Hobart Yard in LA and Corwith Yard in Chicago. You have a quintet of BNSF GEs with another pair as DPUs on the back, and are just about ready to strike out eastbound. This three-part scenario will take you to Barstow on the Cajon sub. Part 1 takes you to Fullerton. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that. To be honest, Jessica, but this was a number of years ago now, so um I will play the ignorant child card, even though as BNSF San Bernardino sub dispatch. BNSF ZLACCHI, this is dispatch. You are cleared to begin pulling from the yard. Be aware the westbound southwest chief is coming through, and you will need to wait for him to pass. Once he does, you will proceed eastbound on Main 3. Dispatch out. That would be pretty awesome. All right, we're good. F4 HUD for this one. It would definitely be fun to be able to scream a Metroliner along at like 110. Hopefully that would also come with a reworked GG1. As well. So, we are on the Pacific Surfliner route. I don't think this is even an accurate representation of a Z train either, because I don't have any trailers on it. Man, and I put regular freight in Hobart. We're checking none of the boxes. Okay, I did have the Metrolink train set for this one. I wasn't sure. I do like this track. This route came with nice track. I mean, that's fair. I know there are a number of people who do that, and I have nothing against that. Oh yeah, hashtag we are rail fans. I remember that. Although, at least the fake ones have gotten a lot better. The ones that come with the Montana Highline route, I think are very good for fake branded containers. I mean, that's probably fair. I mean, I don't have an issue with it as long as the person seeks permission, but definitely. Honestly, not even getting sued, just starting internet drama about it. Like, I don't want to get involved in that. But yeah, many Z trains beyond just Los Angeles to Chicago. So that's a burn on teenager me, I think. That's a fair bet. I don't know. How old is this scenario? It's on like page 11 of my workshop page, which is already 2016. So, wait, when in 2016? March. So yes, boo on. Oh God. 18-year-old me. No. Yes. Actually, probably don't want to be doing a lot of accelerating because we're coming up on our red signal here. Yep. There's also no shortage of Z's that use the Northern Transcon. You have ones from Cicero Yard to St. Paul, Portland, Seattle. There's also one to Denver. Richmond, California. Alliance, Texas. Plenty of Z's to go around. Yeah, so 2016 me wasn't didn't know as much as he thought. And no doubt 2026 me will think the same thing of 2021 me, but yep, for sure. The list of not even Z trains, just intermodal trains goes on and on and on and on. So I mean that's true, Code Monkey. There's there's that old saying, uh, being ashamed of your past self just means you've grown as a person. So oh yeah, there's no shortage of any kind of train, that's for sure. Turn that off. Which we like. Not the locals. Oh no. No, we like locals. Or at least I like locals. Locals are cool. I may be biased though because I used to when I was in elementary school, which was many moons ago now. But I crossed on my way to school the well, actually I crossed it in high school too. So, but I used to cross the BNSF West Chicago branch, and every once in a great long while, I'd get lucky and catch, and the local that served that would come through in the morning. So that was always fun. Especially since you usually get a lot of nice unpainted pre-merger power. That was always cool. Alright, we've got the signal to proceed on to the main line. I really hope Fullerton Main 2 isn't a small target to hit. Yeah, I was really excited to that that route modeled that branch line. Being a local, I can point out more than a couple things that are wrong with it, but I believe that Dev did say that his intention wasn't that it was going to be modeled as in as much detail as the main route was, so I can forgive that. But there's definitely a few things I can point out as being wrong, just in general. But I'd rather have it to a lesser degree of accuracy than not have it at all. So, all right, I'm going to turn off the bell. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, there's that, but I'm talking more about the actual scenery along the West Chicago branch. Um, I can have to go back and look at it, but if I ever end up streaming a scenario for that route or for that branch, I will probably be picking it apart as we go along. But yes, the lack of Metro branding does kind of irk me, especially since in pre-development it had it, and then Metro just up and decided they didn't want to do a licensing deal, which really sucks. It's their right, but it just really sucks. So, are we on main 3? Oh no, we're going to be on main 3. I like the container cranes in the auto sightings. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like obviously Metro is not the only one to do that. You know, they're, I mean, even BNSF to a degree doesn't allow their branding outside of North America. So, um, if you're um, not willing to do uh, use the workarounds, then you're without BNSF branding on those routes. But I believe that's also why we don't actually have Metrolink or Coaster for this route. We have the Los Angeles commuter and the San Diego commuter. Or a Tri-Rail for Miami West Palm Beach. Same principle. One can only hope. But I hesitate to hold my breath. So creeping out here at a solid 15 miles an hour. Actually, if this is March of 2016, that's not too long before I graduated. A month and a half. $15 in this case, Code Monkey, but yes. It also might have something to do with the absolutely enormous length of this train, but I mean that would be the dream for that to come out of the box like that, Jessica. But for now, I'm perfectly content making that happen on the workshop with scenarios that require like 10 DLCs, which is part of the problem. I mean, which is why it would be so nice if Roots came out of the box that way, but. Aw, thanks, Jessica. I really appreciate that. Um, Oh yeah, holding up the Surfliner train set so my massive train can drag itself out of the yard. Embrace the enormity. Pair of SD40-2s. Actually, one of the things that I really got to enjoy. One of the things I really got to enjoy while I was living with my parents, I ended up spending a lot of time on the eastern end of the Aurora subdivision, mainly in Sugar Grove, Illinois, which is just beyond the far western ends of the racetrack route. And I would go out there, usually try to get out there in time to catch the westbound St. Paul Z coming out of Chicago, and then I would spend most of the afternoon there. And I ended up catching most times the what is now called RCHI 476, which is the local that runs between Eola Yard and the town of Oregon. And lately that's been running with a combination of SD40-2 and SD60M power. Although I'm really kind of burned about it because like 3 days after I left to come back to Michigan to start my job, that train started running with a former Santa Fe SD40-2, and I'm really irritated because I wasn't there to photograph that. Cameron, I haven't ever been to. Galesburg is about a 3.5 hour, maybe not 3.5 hours, about a 3 hour drive from where my parents live, and so that's a little far for a day trip. Uh, so definitely something I wouldn't mind hitting again one day. I have a list of various locations I need to visit before before too long. One that I'm planning on checking off this summer is Cincinnati Union Terminal in Cincinnati. Never been that far south. The farthest south I've ever been is North Carolina, so, and even then that was the Outer Banks, so not like terribly far south. I am familiar with it though, and it's definitely something I'd like to check out. Mostly because I want to photograph Auto Train at some point, and possibly write it. I want to do more writing of Amtrak in general. Um, Rochelle, I've been to, oh god, 6, 7 times. I usually would try to hit it twice a year when I was in high school, at least. And then I would usually try and hit it at Thanksgiving once I started college. I haven't been in probably 2, 3 years now. Um, Basically, not quite ever since they put up the quiet zones in town. I went a couple times after that, but they also put up a fence now along the right of ways, which kind of sucks. So I just haven't. And I also went through kind of. I've been going lately through a phase where I haven't wanted to go places I go very often. I've been trying to discover new places. Yeah, it's been a quiet zone for, gosh, 4 or 5 years now. Never been that far west. Farthest west I've been is central Iowa. All the way up to 30 now. Yep, only in the sim. And I have thoughts about the sim. Even though parts 2 and 3 of the scenario are on the sim Cajon Pass, so. But obviously Cajon Pass is something I want to hit. I'm probably gonna save the rant for when I run part 2 of this scenario, since that's gonna be on Cajon Pass and not even the Maggie, we've been over this. We don't hit the gas until we're allowed. But yeah, I'll probably save more of the rant for when I run part 2. Just because it's on the original Cajon Pass that came with, like, Railworks 1 and, who baby. It's not even the upgraded, see, now we're allowed to hit the gas. Yeah, exactly. Old works, that's good. But yeah, not even the workshop route, which at least uses the Stevens pass tracks, which is really weird because it's still using the crappy Railworks 1 textures, but then you have this very nice track laid on top of it, and it looks so weird. Not to knock the guy who made the route, though. It's definitely the embodiment of the phrase "polishing a turd." Yeah, exactly. So, not a huge fan of that route. I mean, obviously, I was when I first started playing the game. It's it's a matter of perspective now. But yeah, no, I can't. I think it's just the problem that it's a desert route, and so, like, it's just brown. And, like, there's nothing else. Like, like, even on, like, Bristol to Exeter, like, at least, like, the farm field textures look okay. Or, like, the grassy textures look okay. But, like, the Cajon Pass textures just look so bad. And maybe it's just something that doesn't translate well in Train Simulator, because I have similar thoughts about the desert portions of the Arizona Divide route. I don't think the area around Winslow looks especially good. So it's possibly just a desert thing in Train Simulator, but at least the tracks in Arizona Divide are good. But you're still dealing with the old crappy tracks in the DTG Cajon Pass, so it's just bad on top of bad on top of bad, and it's just yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. Even though I did this to myself. This route, though, at least looks nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to agree, Jessica. If you're familiar with At the Rail Yard, his reviews of the various MSTS Cajon Pass routes are very telling with just how bad the Railworks one honestly is. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I used to like watching his videos quite a bit. Of course, now he does that podcast, which I don't really listen to, but I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts, so it's nothing against him. Yeah, I know. I always wanted to get those Seligman subroots. They always looked really good. Maybe if I ever decide to get into open rails. Now there's a lash up. I mean, it may be okay, but it's also free, so you know, trade offs. It beats having to try and shell out for a copy of MSTS, that's for sure. Oh, hey, a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit that we're definitely not going to be able to slow down in time for. Renee I've also looked into checking out though. Um, I really like the idea of multiplayer, especially being able to be a dispatcher. That's always something that interests me. Yeah, it really would. I don't know why it feels the need to show you um, um, your entire train. Um, I would be much better served with something um, like the TSW or trains with a Z HUD, where it at least shows you the. So instead of being a bar across the bottom like this, it has the readout up along the. You can't see where I'm pointing. It has the readout along the side of the side of the screen where it tells you the distance to the next speed limit and next signal and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Like, um, there's things I like about Train Simulator's HUD, but there's also things that really annoy me about Train Simulator's HUD. So, but it really does take up quite a large portion of the screen. So, comparatively. There you go. I mean, I could honestly do more in the F3 HUD since I mostly use the keyboard anyway. Um, I used to be a mouse warrior on the HUD, which I can't imagine why I ever did that. That's so irritating. But yeah, even the F3 HUD doesn't really get you away from the fact that like um, it's still not large enough to show you, you know, because I mean, if you play a lot of my American scenarios, you know I don't shy away from making enormous trains. I've made more than one scenario where the train was actually too big to fit on the HUD. Um, and I guess you can't entirely. That was a nice voice crack. I guess you can't entirely blame DTG either because you know they're a UK based company. You know, nothing over there operates at the kind of size American trains do, so they can be forgiven for not programming a HUD. What are you doing? Why aren't you clearing? I don't know why this instruction isn't clearing. Yeah, exactly. That was the point I was getting at before I was distracted. Um, yeah, nothing this size operates over there. So, um, mm-hmm, exactly. Whereas I'm gonna say most, but not really. A lot of sidings now are um, big enough to loop, 2 mile long train or to loop 2 mile long trains. There have been a lot of where they aren't just double tracking. There have been a lot of siding extensions lately. Yeah, I don't know why that's not clearing out. That's going to be unhappy when we finish the scenario, but whatever. What was one big one that they were just doing a bunch of siding extensions on? Canadian National was doing it up in Manitoba in Saskatchewan. They were lengthening a bunch of sidings and doing a bit of double tracking. I mean, that's true too, and it's just a matter of, um, um, you know, distance. BNSF San Bernardino Sub Dispatch. BNSF Z LACCHI. Be advised that Main 3 will be ending and you will be merging onto Main 2. Be advised that the switch has a 30-mile-an-hour limit. Dispatcher out. Aha. That's a wonderfully timed pop up. Oh my god. That's probably why that wasn't clearing. Because the associated pop up hadn't popped up. That's so dumb. I blame 2016 me. But yeah. Anyway, it's just a matter of distance too. North American trains routinely run between origin destination pairs that are farther apart than the UK is long. So I mean, there's that aspect, and the fact that the UK doesn't really do a lot of mixed freight. Most everything runs in unit trains. So there's not really a need for classification for the most part mid-route. You're not taking, cement from, say, Oxwell mains and stone from Thurstlington and, marshalling it in or classifying it in Tin Yard into one train that goes to, say, um, Fairwater Yard as an example. And that's true too, Jessica. Most stuff runs exactly from its origin to its destination. So like it'd be like if if like BNSF ran a train dedicated to serving if it brought, lumber directly from what X lumber mill X to the Menards warehouse in Montgomery, Illinois, I want to say. There's a Menards warehouse in that area. Which would obviously be insane. So I mean, it's different philosophies, and neither one is correct or incorrect. It's just a matter of um, how it's focused. That's true too. Everything. I mean, there are multiple freight TOCs in the UK, but they all serve every part of the UK. It's not like you have DB Cargo um, interchanging freight with Freightliner to deliver from like um, Felixstowe to Exeter or something like that. Whereas that's a lot more common here in the U.S. And to your point, Code Monkey, I only recently found out about Severn Tunnel Junction Yard. If you're familiar with the Dynas Thunderbolt, he's been posting a lot of screenshots from backdate. I think it's backdated Train Sims 80s South Wales route that has Severn Tunnel Junction modeled with the hump yard. And that absolutely blew my mind that British Rail, of all things, had a hump yard. Multiple, I think. I think Tin used to be a hump yard too. So. But yeah, I guess the closest example I can think of to, so one good example where I live in Michigan is pretty close to the Watco's Grand Elk Railroad, and I live not too far from the Kalamazoo Yard, where they interchange with Norfolk Southern, as well as in Elkhart. But and the closest, so oh, that's right. Kingmore did used to have a hump. I didn't know Miller Hill did though. That's pretty interesting. I think Tees might also at one point have been a hump, since you had all those steel mills in that area. But yeah, so obviously Norfolk Southern brings in cars from around its network, interchanges them with Watco to Grand Elk to serve whatever customers wherever. And the closest example, which isn't perfect, but it would be like if Freightliner interchanged cars with or wagons with the West Somerset Railway, if it wasn't a preserved railway, if it was like a short line. I mean, wasted in some way. I think of those that we've mentioned, Severn Tunnel Junction is the only one that was pulled up completely. Tin, Miller Hill, Kingmore, and Tees all exist, just not as hump yards. Kind of in the way that a lot of American hump yards no longer exist as hump yards, but have been converted to flat switching. Good for 55 now. Not that I've been paying attention at all. So, I mean, not that they necessarily do flat switching there either, but I guess in a sense they do. Right, exactly. But you know, it's not just because of precision scheduled railroading. I'm pretty sure BNSF's yard in Lincoln used to be a hump, and that was um, converted a while ago, long before the PSR craze. In fact, BNSF doesn't even like PSR. That's really funny. I think Carl Ice called it like the worst thing to ever happen to railroading. Um, yes, Maggie. For right now, all gas, no brakes. Not that even all gas does a whole lot because this thing is so long. Oh, BNSF has always been my favorite. In no small part to because they're the first railroad I rail fanned as a kid. My grandparents used to live not too far from the west end of the Chillicothe sub. So I used to rail fan that right across the river from Fort Madison, Iowa, growing up. And which is one of the main reasons I'd love to see the Chillicothe sub come to Train Simulator as well. Although, preferably, it would be in the Santa Fe era. So, milepost, now that the Arizona Divide is out, you can get on that. Unless they're going to make another Canadian route, which would also be, which blah, excuse me, which would also be good. I really enjoyed Yellowhead Pass. And I will probably be cooking up something for it in the not too distant future. What, pray tell, is that? So yeah, Chicago to LA, which is not a thing for Autorex. This was also made long before I discovered the Railroad Fan Wiki list of train symbols, which isn't, I don't think, super current or complete. Um, because there are several trains missing off of it, but you know, BNSF has also um, renumbered or resymboled a lot of trains lately. So it's not a perfect source, but it's definitely better than, you know, taking shots based off the origin destination code list, which is what I used to do. Another route I'd really like to see come to Train Simulator is the Chicago line, Norfolk Southern. I don't know what portion of it though, because obviously you couldn't do the full Chicago to Cleveland route because that would absolutely kill everybody's system. Even if you did like Chicago to Toledo, it would be rough. You'd probably have to do like Chicago to Elkhart. Yeah, you absolutely would cause computer explosions. Um, so, I guess you'd probably end up having to do it like Chicago to Elkhart, Elkhart to Toledo, maybe Toledo to Cleveland. But I was just down near um, Chicago to Cleveland. Code Monkey is, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's on the order of 300 miles. Um, if not 350. I could be forgetting how big Ohio is. I have Google Maps right here. Directions from Chicago. So by road, it's 346 miles. So a little far. For one route. Yeah, exactly. That's not a. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just not only is that a length issue, at least that's just a scenery density issue. There would be no break, because that's just all urban sprawl, or mostly urban sprawl. I think there might be a couple areas where it's not full on cityscape, but that's just that'd just be brutal. There'd be no break. It would be like basically because you have Boston, and then the Providence area, and then you get a little bit of a break, I think, in like Connecticut, but um, then you get New York City, and then all the way down to Philadelphia, and then you might get a bit of a break again in Delaware, but then you have Baltimore, and then you have Washington D.C. So it's just nonstop. So I could live with um, breaking up the Chicago line into three, maybe four parts if necessary. I was just down in Butler, Indiana last weekend. Did a little bit of rail fanning down there. And I made the point last week about how busy the Chicago line is. I was down there for about 4 hours total, and caught I think a total of 8 trains. So definitely love the Chicago line for that. Yeah, absolutely. I you'd have to there are probably you'd probably have to have like a military grade supercomputer to run that bad boy. And even then, like I can only imagine the size of that route. Cause like I can look up real quick how big the racetrack is. Because when you figure the racetrack is also yeah, exactly. Let's see. The racetrack is um it should tell you how big it is. Hmm. Doesn't have the file size, or not the file size, but the size of the DLC on the Steam page, which normally it does. All right, we can do this. We can do this the janky way by going into File Explorer. Anyway, the main point I'm trying to get at is that you figure how big the racetrack probably is, because that thing in total is 40 miles, but it's pretty much solid urban sprawl. BNSF San Bernardino Sub-Dispatch, BNSF ZLACCHI. Be advised that you will be switching from Main 3 to Main 2 at Buena Park. The switch has a 30-mile-an-hour limit. Dispatch out. Yeah, I have no idea where Buena Park is. I probably should have, like, marked that on the HUD. Oh, it's right up here. But you figure, like I said, the racetrack is pretty much entirely urban sprawl, because it's just solid suburb, because the Chicagoland area is absolutely enormous. So, let's see. Railworks. Add-ins, maybe? No. Assets. That'll work. Oh, shoot. What's the racetrack under? Oh, Barnes. That's right. So if we check. So, the BNSF Chicago assets folder is a little over 2 gig. So when you figure, so let me check. So like Welsh Marches is almost 3. That like totally waylaid my point. All right, never mind. Baby Stevens Pass. I guess that's just the assets, which just include, well, that would include the root assets. I don't have Western Main Lines. I really only have stuff that is available on Steam. So, but obviously that's pretty big too, because that's isn't that like full Paddington to Penzance at this point? Yeah, exactly. Like, imagine the game having to render Boston, then having to render New York City, then having to render Philadelphia. Like, it's just an onslaught. I don't think even at that point you're getting into a game limitations. You're getting into the limitations of your actual processor. I don't think you could measure it in frames per second. It's probably closer to like frames per hour. At that point. I mean, the laptop that I run Train Simulator on has an i7 in it, and it struggles a lot, as you've plainly seen whenever I load up a scenario. That also has something to do with OBS, though. You know, it's trying to run multiple things. Still planning on building a PC sometime this year, though, so hopefully that'll help with that. About 4 3/4 miles to go to Fullerton. My disinterest for this route probably just extends to the fact that like there's limited freight opportunity on it, which is really what I care about. Um, but this route definitely isn't bad. It's not that the racetrack has limited freight. It's that there's limited stuff you can do with the freight. Because honestly, outside of switching it like Cicero or Iola, there's you one you're and I say this like any other North American route doesn't have end to end freight runs. But at least in any other American route, you have options. You don't have to be like me in every scenario, make for the highlight. Make an end to end run. You could do siding to siding. Um, you can create several different options on like Marias Pass, but the problem is the racetrack is so short. Unless you want like a 10-minute scenario, it's one end to the other, and it doesn't matter if you're running manifest, intermodal, unit. It's the same thing, and it just, which is really why I another one on my list. Honestly, DTG could probably just get a year of content, uh, a year of North American content out of what I want. But another one I want is the Aurora sub. That's not actually entirely true. There's a local to serve the Pepperidge Farm Bakery in Downers Grove, and I believe there's a road switcher that runs from Iola to the Belt Railway of Chicago. So there is a little bit of local opportunity. Um, BNSF San Bernardino Sub Dispatch, BNSF ZLACCHI. You will have to stop at Fullerton to wait for a northbound commuter train. Once it clears, you will proceed eastbound. Dispatch out. And that's actually where the scenario is going to end for us. Actually, I think I made a scenario that I think I actually ran on stream, although I don't know that the VOD got saved. Running a local from. Running that local from Iola to Downers Grove. But, I mean, it's also a factor of just where the route terminates. It's very awkward to start and end scenarios because nothing stops at Aurora Junction. Nothing stops in Montgomery. Also, there's a lot of switching to do in Montgomery. Although the Caterpillar plant in Montgomery was shut down 2 or 3 years ago now. But it's still modeled in game. You could do stuff with that. But like Aurora Junction just isn't a natural place to stop a scenario. Or start a scenario, for that matter. So, which is why I'd like to see, for sure, the Aurora sub, but maybe also possibly the Mendota sub as well. Um, Or I guess it would have been easier if, like, the route ended in, like, the Sugar Grove siding. Because then at least, you know, it's a short siding, but you could pull that off. So, but I would like to see the Aurora sub come. That would definitely be cool. I'm just not really familiar with that, with any part of the Los Angeles and Salt Lake. But I've always found that, I always found it interesting. I couldn't really tell you why, but I always have. Same with like any part of the Sunset route. Although that now I really want because of Digital Train Model's upcoming SP U33C pack, because SP's GEs mostly use the Sunset route, or were mostly used on the Sunset route. Yeah, Amtrak. I do. That would be cool if you could set it in like the 90s and have the Desert Wind on there. Plus, it would be an excuse for DTG to finally make an AC 4400 in Union Pacific AC 4400 for this game, which is something we have sorely needed for a stupid amount of time. About 2.5 miles to go to the end of the scenario here. And we are coming up on a yellow signal. Patched SP and patched CNW. There is a criminal lack of Chicago Northwestern content for this game. Mostly because there's a criminal lack of Chicago Northwestern routes. List item number 4 is the Geneva sub. Although that one I want modern UP and I want CNW era for that one. I can't decide which. It goes back and forth. Shut off the power because we just rolled through a yellow signal, and I don't think I am going to have a huge... Oh, yeah. No, that's not a huge target to have to hit. That would also be good. I would like... There's a criminal lack of Conrail content for this game. I have a soft spot for Conrail. Like, it's not... I wouldn't put it up there as, like, with my favorite railroads, but it's definitely an interesting one, and definitely one that deserves to be modeled. I would take, like, I would take it if one of those Chicago line routes was modeled in the Conrail era, actually. I'd say probably the Toledo to Cleveland portion I would want in Conrail era, because downtown Chicago has changed a lot since the Conrail days. And so that rules out the Chicago to that's a tough one. I'd have to say just before the breakup. Modern Conrail is what I find more fascinating. Plus you could get like those Conrail SD80 Max and Dash 8s. That'd be cool. And then like Elkhart to Toledo, I would just want modern, or at least maybe like post Conrail breakup. Just because I would want the connection in Butler between um, between the Chicago line and the ex-Wabash to Detroit. Those were sweet horns. Actually, I'm not really that big of a horn nut, but those were some good sounding horns. Actually, the SD40-2 and the F45 that come with Arizona Divide, the horns are pretty good. A little soft, but pretty good. Alright, we're 3/4 of a mile from the stop marker here, so I'm just going to start doing some braking. And just a reminder for those of you that weren't here at the beginning of the stream, I may possibly not be streaming next week. I'm getting my second COVID vaccine dose next Thursday. And so I may not be in any kind of state to do anything next Friday. So keep an eye on the Facebook, and which is linked on the Twitch homepage, and I will definitely be updating sometime during the day on Friday. I've been getting Pfizer, but a lot of my coworkers have gotten Pfizer, and it roughed them up pretty good. So it's basically just a waiting game at this point. Well, that's definitely good. I don't think I heard about anybody having serious problems with the J&J. Other than, those 6 people that got those blood clots. But general population, I don't think I heard really anything, anybody having any real issue with side effects. But Moderna, I know, has a rep for pretty nasty side effects, and I've heard a lot of people having nasty issues with the Pfizer one too. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But that's good that you didn't have any issues, and good on you for getting vaccinated. So thumbs up all around. And we are not going to stop. Well, I mean, we're going to stop. We're just going to run the signal first. So, while we roll through the signal here and wrap things up, just a reminder, anything you see on here can be found on Steam Workshop. And this will be going up on YouTube at some point within the next week. Those links, as well as the Facebook, as previously mentioned, are in the homepage on Twitch. And I will, once again, update everyone on Friday with what will be going on. So hopefully, no issues. Just gotta wait for this bad boy to time out. And pretend we didn't run the signal. Looks like we've got a few. Let's grab some coffee. Good job. Scenario complete. Apparently the theme of this week is my lack of proofreading. So once again, that was Zipping Eastbound Part 1, and we started the day with Up From Devon Part 2. So that'll do it for me this week. Hopefully I'll see you all next week. If not, for sure the week after. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.